And a warm welcome to the program. I'm Melinda Akinlami. Our focus is on the Northwest today, but first, our top stories. The federal government is to send 20% of palliatives for vulnerable Nigerians through traditional and faith-based institutions. This is coming from the Vice President, Kashim Shettima. He made a comment during a high-level dialogue of faith leaders on nutrition in Nigeria held at the banquet hall of the State House in Abuja. According to him, 20% of the funds for the federal government's school feeding program will be challenged through the Minister of Budget and National Planning. Modalities are being worked out for the smooth implementation of the policy. Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court Abuja has ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) to serve a copy of the charge against the former governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, on his lawyer, Abdul Wahab Mohammed. This follows the absence of Mr. Bello in court for his arraignment. The court held that where it had become impossible to effect personal service of legal process on a defendant, such could be done through substituted means. However, his counsel says Mr. Bello is ready to appear before the court to answer to the 19-count charge preferred against him by the EFCC and order the court to set aside the ex parte order of arrest it had earlier issued against the former governor. But the EFCC counsel says that Mr. Bello cannot stay in hiding and be filing numerous applications, which are tactics intended to delay his arraignment. He adds that if Mr. Bello wants the order of his arrest to be discharged, he should come before the court and make the application. One person has allegedly been killed in a fight that broke out among students of the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology Ogbomoso on Monday night at the club. Reports say that there was a misunderstanding which led to a fight amongst two groups of students at a popular joint in the town as they were celebrating the convocation ceremony. The owner of the club was said to have invited the police when the fight escalated to put the situation under control. Unfortunately, one life was allegedly lost while others sustained injuries as the clash was said to have turned bloody. A Dana aircraft with 83 passengers and registration number 5NBKI flying from Abuja to Lagos has veered off the runway at the Lagos Murtala Mohammed Airport. Confirming the incident in a statement, Dana Air says the passengers were safely disembarked with no injuries. The airline has also apologized to passengers on the flight, commending their patience while thanking the airport authorities for their quick response to the incident. The National Security Advisor, Mr. Nuhu Ribadu, says the president is adopting a holistic framework to tackle the underlying causes of insecurity, such as poverty, unemployment, social marginalization, and ethnic tension by implementing target intervention that creates an enabling environment for peace and stability. He stated this while delivering the convocation lecture at the Usman University. The Sultan of Sokoto, his council members, as well as visiting vice-chancellors from universities in neighboring Niger Republic are amongst the dignitaries that graced the occasion.
The complex web of insecurity engulfing northern Nigeria is influenced by a blend of socio-economic, ethnic, and religious factors. The rise and growing impact of Islamist insurgencies and the deep-seated conflict between herders and farmers illustrate how insecurity has been the biggest of our problems, exacerbated by a troubling increase in arms trafficking. To effectively address these issues, a comprehensive and cohesive response is required. The ultimate solution to the problem, however, will have to invariably involve multifaceted and cohesive response that marries military, political, socio-economic strategies with robust cross-border cooperation and deep community engagement. By championing an integrated strategy that equally prioritizes prevention and the building of resilience, we hope to attain a pragmatic roadmap towards achieving stability and prosperity.
Operatives of the Kaduna State Police Command have arrested a suspected gun runner who specializes in supplying illegal firearms to bandits in Lere local government area. According to a statement by the Police Public Relations Officer of the State Command, ASP Mansil Hassan, the 45-year-old suspect, Alkali Danladi, was arrested while returning from Jos Plateau State. The police said that further investigation led to the arrest of another suspect, one Gaya Kodi, while two others linked to the arms-running business are still at large. The statement quotes the Kaduna State Commissioner of Police, Ali Dangbigi, assuring the public that efforts are ongoing to apprehend the other suspects who are still on the run. Governors of some northern states are seeking a collaboration with the United Nations to find solutions of the many problems in their states. The governors of Katsina, Kaduna, Kebbi, Jigawa, Sokoto, Niger, Zamfara and Benue states met with the Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed and her team at the Nigerian Embassy in Washington, D.C., United States, to discuss avenues to getting solutions to issues of insecurity, food security, education and other matters affecting critical sectors in their states.
This meeting is hosted by the Nigerian ambassador to the U.S., Uzoma Emenike, between governors of 8 states in the northern part of Nigeria and the United Nations delegation led by the Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed to examine matters affecting the states and find workable solutions.
For us to achieve the Millennium Goals for SDG, we need to address the issue of insecurity because it's the key and fundamental. It affects food security, it affects lack of education or out of school children. It affects our health facilities and also our ability to even go to hospitals.
We need support, we need research, we need a lot of collaboration with UN, and these things are ways we can come out or transition out of this crisis. It's very, very important. So I don't want to bore, my colleagues are here, they want to talk, but I know there are a lot of things we have seen as root causes of where we are and how we can go out of this crisis.
Agricultural productivity is another area that has seen immense decline due to insecurity.
And that is now becoming a nightmare. Yes. We can't even get to the farms. Our fear is when we might just migrate into Zamfara. Nothing personal, my brother.
Help us. Our people are ready to go back to camps, including young people, because Kebbi State just recently were able to purchase about 50,000 solar phones and CNG phones, just to make sure that our team youth have go back to farm.
The state governors are confident that with help from the United Nations, they will be able to tackle and resolve the problems plaguing their various states.
The honorary advisor to the governor of Zamfara State, Professor Kabiru, joins us from Washington, D.C. for more deliberation with the UN team. Thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us for this discussion on the program.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too. Now, how do the northern governors plan to collaborate with the United Nations to address the challenges facing their states?
Well, obviously the problems in Nigeria generally and in northern Nigeria especially has grown to a gargantuan proportion, where any form of assistance and support that the governments will be able to secure from not just within the country but outside of the country and other to be able to stem the rising cases of insecurity and economic backwardness of the region in particular. I think it's a welcome development. The United Nations organization, as you know, now has a special place for subnational governments. And I think, it's better to understand the crisis that each subnational is facing with a view to perhaps profiling particular solutions, in order to be able to deal with these massive challenges, that have culminated into heavy insecurity, where life is gradually becoming so nasty in substantial parts of Nigeria. So I think the UN system has a very important role to play in several areas in addressing, using at least technology to address the issue, to support the states to and the nation at large to address the issue of insecurity, poverty, the energy transition, and so on and so on. And I think these are some of the major issues that a lot of the governors are talking about. And apparently, the United Nations, through the Deputy Secretary General, seems to be, favorably disposed to deploying all resources at their disposal in order to ensure that peace, progress, and economic development are attained in these areas.
Now, Governor Hyacinth earlier of Benue State mentioned something about insecurity and how it has impacted agricultural productivity in northern Nigeria. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, obviously, it's the insecurity arising from banditry that has, denied people the opportunity to even do the subsistence agriculture that they've been doing. Those that are also doing agriculture in mechanized perspective have also been able to do it in the last few years, arising from, the incessant attack from, bandits across basically all states, in the northern part of this country. And unless, of course, the issue of insecurity is addressed, it is likely going to be impossible for, farmers to go to the farm. And the result, of course, is obviously going to be famine, hunger, and all sorts of crises arising from shortages that will record in food supplies. So the governor of Benue State, and of course all the other governors that are in Washington, are particularly worried about the growing insurgency, or the growing, banditry activities that is taking place here, which has impacted very negatively on the capacity of our farmers to produce. And as you said, it's so dangerous to the extent that if we're not careful, this matter is not addressed as soon as possible, we may run into a more deeper crisis. So it's the same crisis. It's not just the governors of the Northwest, including the governors of Plateau, Niger, and Benue State. They are all here in Washington. They are holding consultative meetings with relevant international bodies that have so far shown the willingness and interest in contributing positively in addressing this very serious security challenges that has translated into different forms of antisocial activities in the northern parts of the country.
Now, Prof, to nip this in the bud, what role does the United Nations plan to play in assisting the northern states?
Well, the United Nations, as you know, is an umbrella of several other, institutions, the UNDP, the USAID, and several others, that are intervening in one way or the other in different areas, not just in northern Nigeria, but across the country. I think one of the essence of this meeting is to be able to bring to bear, to this global body on the intensity of the crisis and how uncomfortable, governance and administration seems to be in the northern part of this country. And I think the way to go about it, as the Secretary General has promised, is to be able to, articulate positions. The states, not just that are here, but several others in the northern other parts of the country, to articulate the positions and the magnitude of the crisis with a view to identifying the various agencies of the United Nations that, will be able to chip in a word or two and render one form of assistance or the other, so that they help the states to be able to realize this. And, one of the critical areas is the energy. Energy, now that the Constitution of Nigeria has been amended, captive power formation is possible, and several other things the state and the private sector are now at liberty to generate sufficient power and electricity to be able to run the local economy, the small and medium-scale enterprises, agriculture, and so on and so forth. So, I do believe very sincerely that, the meetings that are going on here provides this ample opportunity for the United Nations to be able to link the respective states and the relevant institutions under it, as well as the private sector that may be interested in alternative sources of energy, so as first of all to be able to generate sufficient power to run the economy, small and medium-scale enterprises, like I said, as well as the cottage and other form of agricultural, industry. So this, in my view, it's a very important meeting, and so far, I'm not speaking on behalf of the Northern governors, but so far for the meetings that I've attended, I have seen that the response has been very positive. The UN and its agencies that are attending the meeting, and especially the United States Institute for Peace, trying to come up with new ways and means of addressing the issue of banditry,
Okay, Prof.
By the governors sharing their experiences and so on and so on. So I believe at the end of it, we're going to come up with, resolutions.
Okay, Professor Kabiru Manto, a pleasure sharing your thoughts with us on the program.
Thank you very much.
The 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, has advocated for proper integration of Almajiri children into formal basic education, noting that the country cannot overcome its security and developmental challenges when a large number of its young population are not educated. Mr. Obi made this known when he visited an Almajiri school in Kaduna North local government area of Kaduna State, where he donated 10 million naira to an Islamic school as well as 2 hospitals. The former Anambra State governor has tasked all political leaders to take a tour of the entire country in order to ascertain the magnitude of problems facing the man on the street.
The Labour Party presidential candidate in the 2024 general election has been busy in recent times visiting communities, mostly in the northern parts of the country, to get first-hand knowledge about their problems and how we can help. His latest stop is an Almajiri school located in Badarawa, Kaduna North local government area. The Singaya school, like other Almajiri schools in the northern Nigeria, is established to teach Islamic education to children between the ages of 7 and 10.
I've come to visit a typical Almajiri school because I believe that while we might not have schools everywhere, we can take education everywhere. And all the effort of the federal government need to be doubled by investing in these young ones. Because the more we invest in them and they have education and skills, the more we fight the future problems. Again, to invest in the area of pulling people out of poverty. I've said it repeatedly. The more you pull people out of poverty, the more you reduce criminality.
While making a donation of 10 million naira to the school, Mr. Obi advocates proper funding and integration of the school system into formal basic education so the children can be exposed to other subjects side by side with Quranic education.
You can look at how intelligent these young ones are, how they memorize the Quran and everything. These are great people. These are engineers. These are doctors. These are professors. These are people who can develop into things. These are people who can change the world. I could see it in them. But we need to invest in it.
He also visited the Fawan Muslim Hospital and the College of Nursing, St. Gerald's Catholic Hospital, where he equally makes donations to the 2 organizations.
That is just the taste of what is to come. He has said it to you that what he has offered us here is just the beginning. It will come and come and come again. Therefore, I want to once more thank you very sincerely.
Presently, Nigeria has been fatigued by lingering insecurity, which is largely blamed on poverty and unemployment. However, the Labour Party presidential candidate believes that overcoming these challenges requires that government at all levels must invest heavily in human capital development.
In Zamfara State, the Civil Society Organizations Network Against Gender-Based Violence, GBV, has expressed concern over the rising cases of gender-based violence and blamed the surge on the lack of implementation of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law, VAP. The CSO network made this known during their quarterly review meeting in Gusau, the state capital, where they called on the state government to establish the GBV Survivors Trust Fund to support victims coping with trauma and fighting the perpetrators.
Program that has direct bearing to gender.
Civil society organizations network, communities, religious groups, the police, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, and the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, have converged on Gusau, the Zamfara state capital, to review their activities geared towards tackling gender-based violence.
First of all, register my appreciation to every one of us.
The chairman of the network, Dr. Hashim Ahmed, has identified insecurity as one of the factors responsible for the increase in the number of gender-based violence and harped on a strong commitment from stakeholders in fighting the menace.
The number is increasing in Zamfara State, and it's unfortunate that it's increasing despite all this effort. One of the key things that we have realized that caused the increase is long trial of our perpetrators. Some of them, as reported by the people here, can stand for 4 years on trial. Instead of having a speedy trial of these perpetrators, let's have a summary trial of these people. When they confess, when they write their statement with the police and everything, that they have done this thing, let's speedily trial them and then punish those perpetrators. That will reduce the burden, that will reduce the number of cases, because the essence of punishment is to serve as deterrents to others.
The executive director of Voluntary Aid Initiative, Musa Umar, and the state coordinator of the National Human Rights Commission, Abdullahi Abubakar, said the internally displaced persons are the most vulnerable to gender-based violence, noting that there is tremendous improvement in the prosecution of perpetrators.
The essence of this review meeting is to look at what the activities that were conducted from January to March, to see area of successes as well as see the area of challenges, as also to plan for this quarter from April to June 2024.
I think with the new available laws that we have in the state, and I engaged the Attorney General of the state, and he assured me all those challenges will be taken care of by this new laws. So I'm sure that might not be a serious challenge for now, but seriously, previously, we do have so much challenge on that issue of our prosecution.
The network has called on the private sector to key into the fight against gender-based violence through funding and urging development partners like International Alert to do more to build the capacity of the stakeholders to improve the fight and prosecute cases of gender-based violence in Zamfara State.
The Kaduna State chapter of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives has called on the government to improve the welfare of its members working in public hospitals through the implementation of the 2019 Consolidated Health Salary Structure, CONHES. The state chairman of the association, Yakubu Ishaku, who made the appeal during the union's annual general meeting, laments that Kaduna health workers are one of the most poorly paid in the country.
From this scheme. Thank you so much.
It's the annual general meeting of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives Multipurpose Cooperative Society, Kaduna State Chapter.
I have some concern, despite that chairman.
This empowerment initiative of the association is aimed at assisting nurses and midwives, both in service and those who have retired, through a personal contributory scheme.
The scheme is the first source of funds that a retiree can access from the state because of the paucity of funds in the state. So we need to make sure we speak to our other colleagues that are not in the scheme to key in because we are on our way to retire. But from what our senior...
On the agenda is the issue of welfare of nurses and midwives working in the state civil service. The state chairman of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives laments the poor working conditions of members, as well as other problems in the health sector.
Kaduna State is one of the states that pay nurses very poorly. So what the governor will need to do is simply to improve the welfare package of nurses in the state. You had the commissioner mention the issue of our 2019 conheads. That's what we have been pursuing. We have 30% balance of 2009 conheads that Kaduna State has not paid. Then we have 2019 conheads also that we are pursuing with the government to pay. We have not even come to 2023 conheads. So you can see the trend of the increment in salary that the government is supposed to pay.
Due to the outcry by the nurses and midwives, the State Commissioner for Health assures that the Kaduna State government is committed to addressing the welfare issues and other challenges in the public health sector.
From inadequate resources to demanding working environments, and we are dedicated to addressing these challenges in partnership with you. Together, we can create an environment where nurses and midwives can thrive, where their voices are heard, and where their contributions are valued and rewarded. We are working tirelessly to improve your remuneration. We know the resources are meager, resources are not enough, the state is not buoyant enough, but the governor had mentioned in his agenda, the sustained agenda, that healthcare is his priority.
The association's leadership believes that both human and infrastructural upgrade must go hand in hand to achieve a better result.
That's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Melinda Akinlami.